tagging.
You look great. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Shanna.
You too.
Hey, Shanna.
Hey, I have to say how much I enjoy. I'm not a landscape artist, which I'm sure you could tell, but I've really been enjoying your videos and I've learned so much from them. Just
Good.
watching, knowing that I'm not a landscape artist. But you introduced some time ago, you introduced cold wax, and I go, whoa.
Isn't it a great thing? I love
Love it because I don't use enough paint to get a texture.
it. Me too.
And, I never have, and I can't imagine that I'll start now
Yeah.
at this point because I've been doing this for so long, and that's kind of my style. But cold wax has been fun. Plus, it dries faster.
Oh, it does. It dries a lot faster. I love it. I started playing with it a couple years ago and then just kind of barely did it here and there. And now I use it all the time. I love it.
The other thing too was that I think when the video that introduced the cold wax, or when I first saw it, Princeton, I think, had sent you some Catalyst polytip brushes.
Yes.
And I thought, I'm gonna try those. And they're my favorite.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they?
I love it.
I used to just do the Aspens, and now I like the Catalyst better than
Yeah,
that.
that's my go-to brush. That's
Yep.
my go-to brush. What I start out with, we'll see what I end up with. But
Yep, I'm with you. Same here.
well, okay. Well, I didn't mean to ignore you, Liz, but
That's okay. Shanna's the talkiest of the two of us. The chattiest.
I'm a yacker too, I guess.
Anyway, we're so happy that you agreed to do this for our member profile. We haven't done this for a while and we need to do it again, but we just want everyone to introduce Jeanne Downing. And Jeanne and I go way, way, way back till I think I was in my early 20s or mid 20s.
Yeah, I'm thinking, at least the early 1980s were when we were in seminars together.
Yeah.
Even before then. So
it was, yeah, we both studied with Mary Jo Lazier, and that's how we met.
Our connection, yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, I want everyone to know your journey of all the things that you've been doing with art, because you're kind of like me. And Shanna, because we both did wall murals and
sewing and like every possible thing we could do with our hands.
Yeah.
I think I started out sewing when I was in junior high.
Oh, me too.
Me too.
And my mother was a seamstress, and so that's how I got started, and I loved it. And then I entered county fairs and stuff, and won best of show for peignoir I made. So, and that was inspired. Do you remember, who was that woman? Loretta Young. She would come down the staircase and she always had these beautiful flowing dresses to the bottom and turn like this. That peignoir was inspired by Loretta Young.
Oh, nice. Well, speaking of that, I just have to share a funny story. One of the first seminars I went with Mary Jo, and I don't know if you were there, you might have been there. It was with Eileen Bratton.
Oh, yes.
And I had just had a baby. So let's see, I was probably 24 years old. I was still breastfeeding, right? And so this is my first time. Eileen Bratton shows up and she's got this beautiful gown on and she's got rings on every finger and she's dressed to the hilt. And I just happened to get seated next to Eileen Bratton. And there she is, beautifully dressed, and I'm in sweats and my milk is coming in and I smell I smell like milk. I have to go into the bathroom and pump during breaks. And I'm going, I am so out of my element right now. That was funny. But
that's dedication.
What's that?
That's dedication, because we're dedicated to what we love.
Yes.
Our children, and very close second, our painting.
Yeah.
And sometimes it depends.
Sometimes it depends.
Well, so from sewing, how did you get interested into painting? What led to picking up a paintbrush?
I have to say that when my first husband, who's now deceased, started vet school, he had a friend in vet school who was married, and there weren't very many of us that were married at that time. And her name was Jessie Bentham, and she was a wild thing. And I went over to her house. She and I became dear friends. Went over to her house, and she had on the wall a weathered piece of wood that she had painted this daisy on. And I wanted to know how to do that. And there wasn't any classes or anything. I didn't even know what it was called. She didn't either. And so after I had my second child, Jenny Lee, she was just maybe, we're still nursing, 6 weeks old. And I took her to a class in Longmont, drove there, took the baby, nursed the baby, and took a class for 6 weeks on stroke pole TOLE painting. So that's how I got my start.
And that led you probably to Mary Jo Leisure. Right?
Eventually, I live here in Loveland, Colorado, have forever, seems like. And up in Estes Park, I found one of Mary Jo's From Me to You books, and I went nuts because her line and her design was really what I aspired to. And the stroke work wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. So, yes, and from then on, it was whenever I could take a class from her at conventions. I think we had a convention here in 1980 in Denver, and I took my first class with her there, and the beat was on. Whenever I could do that,
Yeah.
I did. And so she taught. She really was a very inspiring teacher, was and still is. And she's so encouraging and not tries to make you into her.
Right.
Yeah, that's a sign of a good teacher right there.
And
Yep.
for those that don't know who Mary Jo is, Mary Jo Leisure is a master decorative artist. So she's in the decorative art field. She's written numerous books. She was, in my opinion, the best decorative artist out there, but her design skills and her color harmony are just so incredibly beautiful.
Her lines, her
Yeah.
lines. And she can, well, she's an inspiration.
She is. She really is. She was like my second mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. She practically raised me.
Uh,
Anyway.
So anyway, I've been painting for about 53 years. If we go back to 1970 when my second child was born. So I've been painting and evolving for about that long.
Right, and you wrote some books in decorative art. With
I wrote some books at that time. Gretchen Kegel was publishing, and she approached me, and I ended up. She ended up publishing 6 books for me, and they were not books, but in the craft industry. So that's primarily where I've been for many, many years.
Well, and I think what a lot of people don't know about you is that you were a web developer, because Jeannie built my first web page way back when there weren't templates or anything.
Yeah, I worked for a company here in Loveland who had who did web design and who had these young men, boys, really high schoolers, who were coders, but they weren't artistic. And so they interviewed me because they knew I was an artist. And so they interviewed me and said, "Can you make a page so it doesn't look square?" Yes.
We can.
Just show me, you guys code it and I'll show you what I want to do. So that's how it worked out. And then a company down in Denver bought that company and they folded up here. I wasn't about to drive to Denver to do that, so I struck out on my own because they had Loveland is an art community.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of artists that we did websites for. And we had those artists primarily because of me. So I would talk with the artists and get the feeling of their work and how they wanted to package it and present it. And then I'd design the site and the boys would do it. And so when that changed, then I just kind of went out on my own, and I still had people who I could call on to do programming if I needed. But the boys taught me quite a little bit. They weren't sure that they could, but then oh, I don't know if you can do this. And I said, well, it's only ones and zeros. How hard can it be?
It is really funny when nowadays my kids will call me and ask me how to do certain
Yeah.
So, I know you're an oil painter. Are there other mediums that you're working on or that you've tried, and what's your experience with mediums?
Well, actually, technology, I guess, what I would call a medium, because, and particularly now that we've got tablets, iPads, and they've developed apps that are truly for artists and not for kindergartners.
Yes.
And I use that to do a lot of things with.
Procreate.
And I create, I do ideas, but mostly I just mess around with these. I love it. And so I've taught others how to use your iPad as an art tool, or your Samsung tablet, or whatever, Android tablet. And that's a kind of a wild hair sometimes, obviously, because technology has a tendency to just update when you don't know about it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of people whose minds don't seem to have both a left and a right side.
We say between the two of us, we have half
a
left
brain.
brain.
So, but my father was an astronomer who had his doctorate in astronomy and worked at the Los Alamos National Scientific Laboratory in New Mexico. So I think I got some left side brain stuff from him. So I'm able to do a
Both.
little bit of both, and I don't know how well, but I work at it. So anyway, so the other medium, I guess I would say, would be technology. And I really enjoy doing that. I've made all kinds of things in Photoshop and do graphic design and do painting, primarily in oils, but I've actually branched out a little bit in acrylics.
That's okay.
It's not a dirty word.
No, it's not, but I'll tell you, it takes some study to do it.
So I did bring up some of your artwork that I want to see if I can share. Hold on. Oh, I have to do this. Can you see my screen, what I'm pulling up?
No,
No.
Okay, but
you could do share screen and go down here to participants and, no, that will just open for me up and I can't show you anything.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, desktop share. Well, keep talking while I do this.
what about your
let's see.
abstracts? Elizabeth tells me that you are doing a lot of abstracts lately. Tell us about that.
That's a shocking thing because I paint very tight and realism, and not that my pieces look like photographs, but they're they're tight, they're tight. So at some point during the pandemic, I just started slapping on paint, but something happened to start that, and it was a toothache.
Oh,
Wow. And how did that happen?
Well, I guess I needed a root canal, and I was painting, and then I went like this, and this pain went up in my head and kind of shattered my brain and came back down, and I thought, good heavens. And I tried to explain what it was to my husband, and my husband was a artistic kind of a guy, and so the best way you could talk to him was just draw it or just paint it. And so that's how I just painted these lines that went like this.
the pain.
And that piece sold like that.
Wow.
And so I guess that's the real way I got started. The other way was I must have been kind of leaning towards that because of the graphic things that I've been doing, because I've been doing backgrounds that were abstracts in Photoshop. So it just kind of all flowed together. But a lot of people looked at me and thought I gone nuts because they knew me in a different way. And so they were shocked. Whatever, why did you do such a thing? Well, could be my cataracts, or it could be a toothache. I don't know.
That's such an organic way of evolving into another style. That's always been something that I believed. It's really difficult to make a change without it just happening organically. It's almost like if it doesn't happen that way, it's not your voice anymore. But that's the perfect way of explaining how something just grows.
Yeah, and I think during the pandemic, we were all trapped.
Mhm.
You couldn't. This was before we even got into Zoom, and you couldn't really do anything. And I was just plain old bored, and so I tried to do some things, but but the toothache kind of got me going.
That's really interesting. And so you're in your studio in your home right now, because I know you've got two studios kind of, or one in
I
front.
do one downstairs, which is you can't even enter. I call it the Bermuda Triangle down there.
Oh,
So I go in at my own risk, look for things, can't find them, come back in, go back in. And then after Johnny passed away, the best decision I ever made was to do Studio 2. And so he was my biggest promoter, supporter. He absolutely loved it when I was painting. And if,
And he just passed away last year.
yeah, last March. And he wore people out, I think, because I was always a little embarrassed, but he was always telling people, my wife says, he would show a phone what I've been doing. And if he could have taken a phone to heaven, he would have worn out the angels.
That's
He would have showed them everything. Now she's done this and she's done this. So anyway, he was a real gem.
Yeah, he was. We both had gems.
No, but it's not, I think that's the end of the line for me. I had the best one, and for me, and now
art.
Yeah.
art. And it's very healing. It's very healthy.
We talked about that today, about how art heals. And do you want to expand on that just a little bit? How has that helped you heal from the death of two husbands?
Yes, from the death of two husbands. It has occupied my mind so that I don't go in circles with this or that or the other thing. After Larry died, I still had a family to raise. So I could concentrate on them. I had a purpose. After Johnny died, my purpose became this completely and totally. So I moved into this room and set up, had enough stuff for that, and I've got his man cave that was outside that we called the gatehouse. I cleaned that out and I thought, oh boy, this is perfect for the gatehouse gallery. So my son and I and my daughter's boyfriend, they've got real jobs, so I can't bug them too hard. But this summer, I'm hoping to get that done, and then I'll have another studio.
I think
Oh,
that's
that's
awesome. And
wonderful.
I'll put up the photos that you sent me when we get the blog written, because I think it's just going to be a really adorable gallery. Can you tell us, so we see some paintings behind you, some abstracts and some of your decorative work. Yeah, they're beautiful.
That color's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite painting that you've done?
My favorite one, I think, is my one called Antiquity Threads.
Ooh.
And
Did you send me that one?
I sent you that one.
Okay.
And the second one is the one that I just did using cold wax. Is what was it? What did I call that? Heightened Romance.
Mm.
And it was red, and I'm sure Liz knows it. When did Jeannie ever paint in red except for apples or something? So, I mean, and that it started out as something else and it just didn't work and it didn't work and it didn't work and it didn't work. And so I had it up on the easel back here and I just stared at it and went over and just got out red and got out cold wax and my brush, poly-tip brushes, and whoo, 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 whoo. And it just happened. And, you know, I've had people ask me, can you teach me how to do abstracts? I don't think so. Because they're a feeling.
Mhm.
And they're not necessarily a subject. And they can be, but for me, they've been a feeling or an emotion or something. And I may have a vision of what I want, an idea, but that's not what it ends up to be. And I would come and plop down in a chair and go, oh, Johnny, I think I've just ruined it. I don't know what it is. And I don't know why I'm doing this. And he leans into me, he says, follow the brush.
That's wonderful. Smart.
Follow the brush. So you can see, can you see this picture?
Yes, beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Love it. Oh, of Johnny?
That's Johnny.
Yeah.
And so when I'm stuck on something, I hear his voice say, follow the brush. And then I go, oh, but you don't understand.
Follow the brush.
Follow the brush. Follow the brush.
There is a time in painting where the painting tells you what it wants to be, and
Yes.
you have to listen, and you're just a conduit.
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's right. And you're not sure what's going to happen, particularly in abstracts. Are you going to do shapes or you know what? And then I thought, I don't know, is my style, quote unquote, visible in my yes, very much so. So my style is still my style. The expression is different, but my style is still there.
Your color sensitivity, value sensitivity, all of that.
And the amount of paint I put on.
I'm a thin painter too, so I'm with you.
That I think comes from the decorative art world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does.
Do you have any who are your inspirations, living or dead artists?
Well, I would have to say we spoke of Mary Jo, and I think she's probably had the biggest influence on me. But I also took classes from other decorative artists who were really quite good. And but also my mom. And because when one of my first things I remember about drawing is sitting on mom's lap, and she had made one of those cloth books that
Mhm.
has zippers in it, and 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 she had me draw something on one of those cloth pages, and maybe that's where it all started. I don't know.
A little seed was planted.
Yeah.
Yes, and then my mom, but also my dad, came and helped me in my booth at the decorative painting conventions, and they were big supporters and encouragers, and so I guess I would have to say they had a big part in. And Dad would say, "You need to do this," and and he wasn't like telling me what to do. He just wanted me to do something with my art and get out there and show people what I was doing. I was a little timid about it.
We're just about out of time, but let me a couple more questions. Where do you see yourself in 1 year or 5 years?
I would like to improve my skills, and all of them, whatever I need to improve on. And so in 1 year, I would like to be more skilled. One of the things that helps you become skilled is to teach. And
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm a teacher.
absolutely.
And so teaching others, so I'll have to think on how I would teach abstracts. Um, then in 5 years, I think I would like to be recognized in my own community here in Loveland.
Boy, we talk about that all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little easier to be recognized in the community next to your community.
True, but they don't know who I am yet, so I could tell them I live in Berthoud. I don't know. But I haven't joined the art league, and that's one of the things that I know I need to do. I've never been much of a joiner.
Oh, you and
Yeah.
Shanna both.
Yeah, I've never, this year I've kind of gone out on a limb and joined a little more, done a little bit more of it. But the thing about groups is sometimes they contain your growth because you're painting for an audience instead of
Yep.
just painting for yourself.
Yeah,
So it's a fine line between the two of them.
and I've resisted that to some extent. And now I think I've fallen off the ledge because anybody I know doesn't really do abstracts.
Well, they sell really well. You've told me how, whoops, hold on. Okay, we got 10 minutes. How well you're doing in selling the abstracts.
That's
So,
fantastic.
I've been selling them on Facebook primarily, and I don't have that many people following me or anything, but I don't really pay Facebook to market my stuff either. That turns a lot of people off. So it's just people see it and buy it.
well, and you've been using that Smart Artist app, haven't you, to show what it looks like in a room?
Artwork, yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, not that app. I
Oh.
go on. I have an account with the Adobe Stock,
Oh, okay.
and so I get those mock-ups. And a lot of people don't know how an abstract's going to look in their home, and so I do mock-ups for each of my pieces, and that sells it.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
That Smartest does the same thing. It's a great program for
Yeah.
being able to picture
What do you call it?
Smartest.
It's SMARTIST.
TIST.
Yeah. It's like artist, but with SM in it, smartest.
Got it.
It's
So
a
it's
great app.
Do
with
they
all
make
kinds of
you
room.
for, do you have to pay for each one you use?
No,
No, but I mean,
No.
you do have to pay, I don't know how much.
it was pretty nominal. It was not very
Yeah.
much money at all. But it really does help people see what the painting can look like in an environment.
Yeah, and visualize it in a room situation, and not everything has to be big and, you know, 3 feet by 4 feet or whatever. You can do some really beautiful pieces on a 12 by 16.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then you can mix that with more traditional, and they look great together.
Yeah. My home has, and so does yours. We both
Yeah.
have abstracts along with representational.
Do you have any advice for new students coming on board or somebody that's just starting to learn how to paint?
Advice for new students: don't be afraid. It's
Mhm.
only paint.
That's
It's
right.
only paint.
Yeah. Only paint.
And maybe you'll be an abstract person, but if you want to be something else, you can be that. You can do that. And my sister, she was here this week, and she always goes, "Oh, I can't do painting. I can't do this, but I want to paint this." And I said, "Okay, let's just do it. Come over here." So I even did it in acrylics. I even showed her how to do it in acrylics, me, an oil paint. So she was so excited. She's like a little kid. She can't think about anything else. And she went back to her place, her home in Southern Colorado. She's already got her set up in the kitchen. She goes, "I have an account with Jerry's Art Aroma."
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. That's
You tell her that,
wonderful.
you know,
Yeah.
she who has the most brushes wins when they die.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah. It is exciting. It just is fun to see somebody's light up like that, you know.
It's the best, isn't it? That's the best thing about teaching.
I love it. I've always
Watching
loved that.
somebody's face just go, I
I
just did
can't
that.
do that, you know. So yeah, you can do that. Oh my goodness. And she was calling people on the phone. Jeannie, send a picture of that to so and so to so and so.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, is
Oh,
there
that
any-
was fun.
yeah. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we wrap this up?
I guess my final word is traditional artists generally are fearful of technology, and the technology can be a tool to help you do what you want to do.
Absolutely.
And so maybe you are frustrated with it or whatever. Find somebody who knows how to do something with it and show you what to do, and how to use it to help you as a tool do an abstract with traditional mediums. So it's not your enemy, it's your friend.
It's your friend.
Mhm.
Community schools have lots of classes and things like that,
Yeah.
in graphics and all kinds of
Well, and
things.
YouTube videos.
And
My gosh,
YouTube videos.
you can
We
learn how to
both
do
have learned
anything
how to
on
do so many things watching
YouTube
YouTube.
videos.
Actually, I think that's what made my sister, she had seen a YouTube video and she thought, wonder if I could do that. Wonder if Ginny would show me how to do that. And so because of that, she's now an artiste.
And you have a painting partner.
And I have a painting person. Oh, we set her up on Zoom so I can help her. That's another thing too. If you're gonna do something and you don't quite know the shape or something of it, you can fiddle around with it in Photoshop or something and get a feeling, or on your iPad and get a feeling for it before you ever start on your traditional surface.
Well, this has been wonderful. When I get all this ready to publish everything, I'm going to put all the photos on there and maybe have you come in and make a few little comments about the photos that we have on your member profile. But we're so appreciative of you being of the group and inspiring others to paint.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Oh, and the other thing too, I forgot to mention is I like to use metal leafing.
Mm.
And it brings in light, the dimension of light into a painting.
Yeah.
And since my dad was an astronomer, I was really always kind of taken by that, not as a young child because I thought it was boring, but later on in life. And now that they have such beautiful pictures that they've added color to from all of these different things that they've sent out in space, it's just mind-boggling. And that meat leafing brings in that light.
Mm.
So I use metal leafing a lot.
That sounds really fun to
Yeah.
me.
Did you send me some images of that?
I think I said
Okay.
there's metal
Yeah.
leafing on antiquity threads and
Okay.
metal
Yeah.
leafing on just about everything, really. Not everything, just about.
Well, you are a multi-talented person.
And
That
a
is-
very daring person,
Yeah.
very brave.
Yeah. And you've come a long
kind
way from when I met you
jump
when I
right
was in my 20s. And we both have in our journey.
I burned out 2 husbands, and that'll be the last for me. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. Well, I have Shanna, so.
She just calls me over from next door.
I'm just a little jealous of all of that because I think, oh man, would be so much fun to be depressed and paint together.
Yes, we have a great time. We push each other too.
Yeah,
We've pushed each other's
Yeah.
level a lot.
yeah, you challenge each other,
Yeah.
and that's what painting. That's a lot of times that's what you need, because it's easy to. Painting is such an emotional experience,
Yes.
and you have to feel that emotion, and that emotion can also be depression.
Mhm.
And so, and you can be affected by how much light is in the sky and the time of day and snow or sunny or whatever it is. That's emotion that you don't even maybe recognize, and it affects everything. If you're an artist and in tune with yourself, it affects everything.
It does.
Yeah, I would agree.
Everything.
Well, I think that's a good point to end. And we've got about 30 seconds before the Zoom quits. But Jeannie, thank you so
Thank
much
you so
for doing
much.
this. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for asking me to do this. I hope I wasn't too deadly.
We know everybody else will love watching it too. So that's we're grateful. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jeannie.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.